This is Hospitality and Politics, powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. I am Andrew Ridgie. I am with, in the chair, Terence Tubridy, IGC Hospitality. What's going on?
How you doing, bud?
I'm
ready to start. I'm ready to tackle issues.
I know,
Let's go.
I know you are. I am ready too. All right. Tell me about IGC Hospitality first, and then we're going to get into, we're going to start tackling the issues.
Story of IGC Hospitality. It's in good company. Our first bar in Manhattan was actually right down the block called Metro 53. My brother and some cousins and a bunch of friends thought it was a great idea to open up a bar, and we didn't stop. We continued kind of to open more places, from the Upper East Side Saloon to purchasing a building on the Lower East Side. I think I was 26 at the time. It was kind of like, you talk about putting your balls on the line. And libation.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
So and then we pivoted. We started kind of growing up. So Park Avenue Tavern. We went into hotel, food and beverage options, refinery rooftop. And right now we're about 18 concepts, including our own hotel, the Rockaway Hotel out in Rockaway Beach, that we ground up, developed, and raised the money for, and operating today. So it's been a fun path. It's wild that it's 20, 25 years in this industry. My father was in this industry.
Flies. So that's what I was going to ask. So what's your background like in the industry, in New York in general? Like,
my father Dan owned a restaurant called Pier 92 out in Rockaway, which is now Bungalow Bar. And as kids, I have four brothers, and we have a big Irish family. And my father ingrained in us right from the jump, put us to work when we were 5, 6, 7 years old. And we hated working the restaurant. We hated it. Yeah. But it was a good lesson for us. We, the value of a dollar and respecting people and respecting workers. And from there, when we grew up in our teenage years, we started working for other bars and restaurants, whether it was Conley's in Rockaway or, McFadden's. I was the bar back at McFadden's on 42nd and 2nd in 2000. My brother worked for Steve McFadden in the 90s, my cousin. So we've been in the bar business since, the mid 90s, whether it was in Manhattan, whether it was I went to college in the Bronx. So up in Yonkers, we were always working up there. So we have a pretty big network and word of mouth group. Plus it helps having a big Irish family. Yeah.
Did you think that I know when you were young, you hated it and going into the restaurant and everything, but did you always think eventually you'd be in the business, or was it like, I'm going to do something else? And then it's like, oh shit, we're just going to start bar backing and then I'm going to buy a place.
The something else was going to be the other Irish American kind of path, right? Yeah. Become a fireman or work on Wall Street but we were pretty good at it. Yeah. We were good at filling bars and managing bars. And then eventually, very quickly at a young age, myself, my brother, my cousins were all in our young 20s. I was 21. We opened up our first place. It was post 9/11. It was 2002. And it was like, if we're going to do this, let's do it now. Yeah. Life is short, that kind of lesson. And the lesson of just hospitality, being around people, being around, even just like mentors that you get to know. There's so many amazing people that don't get the credit that's due. Talk about like a New York story. I was a DJ, and I used to DJ in the Hamptons, and I used to DJ on the Upper East Side. And one of my first nights was DJing the Friday after 9/11 at a place called Madison's, which then became Saloon. And I said, why are we working? Why are we open today? Yeah. Right? It's the Friday after. And the owners at the time, Richie Murphy and John Armstrong, basically thought it was imperative. It was American that they opened up. Yeah. They didn't take any money. They actually donated all the money. All the bartenders donated all the money to whatever funds that were going on at the time. And this is, again, 4 days after 9/11 to think. And like, I wanted nothing to do with being there. But then I saw people needed to be together. And I ended up getting a dance floor, and people needed that release. Yeah. And that's those little things, like the power of hospitality.
Well, we always talk about it, that like restaurants and bars, like, yes, it's an economic engine, but there is something that is so much deeper to the hospitality sector that like people just connect with. And it's that community, it's that cultural, it's that social, aspect. We were just actually joking around before we turned the mics on and saying like, drinking NA when you're out the bar, and it's, not that, less expensive than, just drinking alcohol, but you're also paying for not just the product, but that social aspect, that experience. And I think that travels through when you're like celebrating like a birthday, or you're just going out for a good meal or a drink, but also like core moments in history, like post 9/11, when there's just so much tension and fear and uncertainty, but it's a gathering place that brings people together and also gives back to the community.
It happened many times over the course of just being in the business, but like post 9/11, post recession, there was a jump of people wanting to be out. Like they couldn't spend the money like they were, but we were thriving 2007, 2008. We had to pivot from what we were doing. The bottle service took a beating, but then Hurricane Sandy, and then obviously COVID, which is just, we do the work anyway.
What I love about you and Jeff Brosey and like you guys, like it's like Queens guys, New York guys, just like good people. And like all your spots are just like good spots. They're all like different, but is there a similar theme or a culture? Because I think when you hear how many places you have, which is such an incredible story about entrepreneurship and just like the opportunities in this business, but it's also very easy to kind of go all over the place and start opening up more places, and one or two are okay, then others fail, and you kind of lose the culture of what made them successful in the first place. So is there like a IGC culture or something that just is so important for you and the leadership team that you inject through every new opening?
Yeah. I mean, it's first, if we're going to open up a new place, we need to bring people from the old places to the new place. So that's number one. Kevin Dillon from Smith & Walensky, right? Another mentor, like he taught me that, right? When he would go in to open up at Smith & Walensky's in like Chicago or wherever, multiple cities, he would go to the Irish pub and hang out there for the week, talk to the workers there, the bartenders there, and be like, where do you guys go after work? And he finds the local place, and connecting through that humanity and that social connection first, right? We all serve Pat LaFrida burgers. We all serve great, good food. What the difference maker, I think, with us and why we've been able to be successful is that maintaining growth for us was being intentful. Some of that was actually due to my partner Jeff's in a wheelchair, right? And we wanted to look at like opening places that basically we could roll to. Right, we're rolling. Right, that was number one. We've made sometimes the mistake of opening up in Florida, and it doesn't work out because it's not our own backyard. We know New York. We went to high school here. We went to college in the Bronx. So some of the things that we've kind of ingrained in our staff, in our management team, is this core thing called 4H. Right, and I've talked about it in the past, but being human, being hospitable, being humble, and being hungry. And using that as like a guideline or a compass to make decisions. Make the decisions for your guests, make the decisions for your employees. Being human, like, somebody was sitting at the bar before the bar opened and the bartender was like, I can't serve you a drink. It's not 4:00 yet. No, it's 3:55. Serve the goddamn drink. Things like that is such the difference maker for hospitality. And it's continuously just reminding people of that. Like, make the right decision in the vein of being human.
So it's having that prism or North Star and then looking at all the decisions through that.
Yes.
So coming up with a new concept, opening a new concept, like I know you have standalone bars and restaurants. You have places that are kind of hotel deals where you're operating, in the lobby, you're operating a rooftop, and then you have your own Rockaway Hotel. Like, can you just talk quickly about the differences at a high level between like each of those deals? Like, if you're going into a hotel, there's very unique things you need to think about versus if you're opening your own place. Like, do you have a preference in the type of deals that you look for, and what are the pros and cons?
So when we first formed the group, we started with what can be done for every single place. So it was marketing.
Okay.
right? And then that marketing person took care of all of Facebook at the time, whatever it was, right? And then financial, we brought in somebody that's going to run P&Ls for all the spaces. So where we were at the time, as far as like opening up a place, we're looking internally and saying, well, what got us here isn't really going to get us there.
Yeah.
So it's investment in the team, back into the team first, making sure we're educated enough or we're ready to handle the deal. But IGC has many different verticals. So we have standalone restaurants like Park Avenue Tavern on the corner of 39th and Park. For that, we're looking at long-term lunch and dinner traffic, post-work traffic, being that neighborhood spot. Whereas you're going to pay prime rent for that.
Yeah.
When we look at a hotel deal, we're looking at, okay, we're an amenity of the hotel. We're serving the hotel guests. But will this restaurant that we're building here be able to survive if there were no hotel here?
Yeah.
So that's the first question. It's like, if we're going to open up a Parker and Quinn under the Refinery Hotel, would Parker and Quinn survive if the Refinery Hotel wasn't here? Yes, it would. The extra amenity part of it, of figuring out, the creative spaces, whether it's the lobby bar, Winnie's Jazz Club, or our new restaurant, the Shelbourne, Take Care. That's the creative part where, like, how do we utilize space the best? And then when we're going into a deal structure, we want to make sure that breakfast, it takes years to develop a breakfast. Yeah. So we want to make sure that either the rent or the management agreement has a long road to success. And that we don't build contemporary spaces. Most of our places architecturally are very classic, that they're going to stand the test of time. But we do management agreements, we do owner's rep work, we do bookkeeping for other restaurants, we do marketing sometimes for other restaurants. So we look at ourselves as kind of a one-stop shop, as well as investing in hospitality tech or other hospitality groups.
What do you get at this point in your career with those different verticals that IGC is in? Like, I guess, where do you enjoy spending most of your time on the business? I'm sure you get pulled away for a million different things, but like, if you have one place that you could focus most of your time, is it? Depends
on the season, depends on the time, but mostly the Rockaway Hotel.
Yeah.
That's I would say that's my baby.
Yeah.
And then in Manhattan, really, like, we just opened up Winnie's Jazz Club. We completely redid it. Garrett Singer redid it. He's the same guy from Teresi, a designer. And it's spectacular. But mostly you'll find me in a corner, either talking to, guests or talking to staff. Yeah. But my focus really is the Rockaway Hotel.
The hotel, tell us about it, because I feel like it's a really special project, and
it is. My great-grandparents and my grandparents used to talk about the old days of Rockaway, right? It was hundreds, thousands of hotel rooms along the boardwalk. And somewhere between 1960 something to 2010s, Rockaway lost its seaside kind of prowess, right? Like, everything headed out east. It became a transportation desert. It's a working class, blue collar town with probably the most housing projects in the city. And it's the furthest neighborhood away from, downtown.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to get with that? You're going to get, low economic prosperity. You're going to get low income housing, which is there. You're going to get people who are very self-sufficient as well. So with the idea with just bringing hospitality, what we saw about 15 years ago with Bungalow Bar was like, there's people now visiting Rockaway that aren't from those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They were coming from upstate. There was this emerging artist community. There was an emerging food culture that was happening out there, but there was no place to stay at all. Not even like a 15-room hotel. So that's where the idea kind of spurred from, and what it grew out to be, to make sure it was economically like sustainable, was that it had to be as many hotel rooms as we possibly could do under a zoning, and a food and kind of experience destination that people can be like recognize and say, wow, instead of going to the Jersey Shore, driving out 3.5 hours to Montauk, let's just take the ferry to Rockaway.
Yeah.
Let's just stay one night or 2 nights in Rockaway and check it out. And we'll be home in 45 minutes on a ferry.
How do you describe the vibe of it for people who haven't been there?
There's different vibes as far as like seasonality goes. In the winter, you would think it's really quiet and sleepy, but what we try to do is just be creative with the spaces. So our pool house kind of converts into this, an extension of our spa. And we call it, the winter pool house. And we have saunas, we have a heated pool. We have treatments going on out there, very chill, very relaxed. Come Memorial Day weekend, that flips. We have a DJ out there, we have music, we got cabanas going on, something that you're just going to find on any kind of normal seaside kind of destination, right? But on top of that, like where we try to be as creative as possible, even just Rockaway was known for its music, right? The Ramones, so we wanted to bring emerging artists there. So we started Greetings from Rockaway Beach, where we have about 15, 20 shows. And, we're selling 15 to 20,000 tickets for Rockaway concerts. And so it's very dynamic. It's very fluid. And, I think there's something for everybody there, even though it's really hard to kind of balance sometimes, especially there's millions of people that visit Rockaway Beach a summer, like 4 or 5 million visit Rockaway Beach, right? And there was no hotel. So it's been fun and rewarding, but extremely challenging.
Talking about that, like being out there, not having other hotels, kind of being isolated, not having all the public transportation there, kind of start thinking about staffing, especially if, sometimes if you talk about like for the beach, it's seasonal. What do you do about staffing? What have you done about staffing? Where are your workers coming from? What programs have you done? How do you address that? Because that's tough everywhere. But
it's everywhere. Rockaway
difficulties there.
Rockaway, we employ mostly 90% of our employees are from the community. And when I say the community, from Breezy Point all the way to Far Rockaway. 2021, 2022, we started a hospitality program with our partners to do a workforce development. And we were able to get about 50 to 60 cohorts that went through an 8-week training that, half of them actually, I think we ended up hiring.
Wow.
And some of them are still employed by us. Some of them actually have gone on to become like front desk manager at the Hard Rock Hotel, or, a friend of, another guy is working at the Pierre. I mean, like these are things that like you would never think by opening a hotel in Rockaway that's going to open up people's, hospitality careers to them.
It opens up the world to them. It really does. On the staffing point, you've talked a lot about a lot of the trainings and things that you do, but hospitality, even going back when you said before, it's like, 4 p.m. and the guy's sitting at the bar, 3:55. He's like, just give him a drink now, even if you're not technically open. Sometimes if you're in the industry for a long time, you think some of these things are like common sense, but they're not always common sense. They're things that are learned. You need to be coached. What do you do at IGC when it comes to identifying talent, training your team, and recruiting people?
I'm not a rules guy.
Okay.
I think rules actually they're important. SOPs are important, but sometimes you have to draw outside the line. And that, again, that's all in the vein of being hospitable. Or I think the true definition of hospitality is anticipation.
Yeah.
What are we anticipating for the guest needs? What's next? What are they going to need next? How do we read between the lines of an email or a reservation? All of those things. So training that is challenging. Some people get it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Some people it takes, quite a while. As far as training for us, it's pretty basic when you're working the floor, but the extension of it is dropping in and saying, hey, that person has the eye, right? Like I think hosts are the secret to great management. I really do. I think if you could spot a great host and you're hiring them, usually college age, usually, figuring out what they need to do. It's part-time work for them, but they are seeing the room a lot better sometimes than a server is going to see the room, right? And so what we found is that hosts actually make great managers. They also aren't working the front of house, right? They're not in the tip pool. They're not kind of, jaded by that just yet, only where, so I think hosts, we start with hosts. And then just knowing, like, again, going back to Matt Rankin, that's my guy. He's the best bartender. He works at Winnie's Jazz Club. He was a GM for us. He was a server, then an AGM, and then became a GM when we opened up a place called Trademark. Mm-hmm. And it was rough for him. We were having a rough time. Yeah. Whether it was us not communicating around or him not, it just wasn't a right fit. 5 minutes before he comes in, because we don't have any, there's no other road to go, right? Yeah. You're GM, you're done. What else are you going to do? And, one of our partners walked in, and this guy, Rob McGovern, and he goes, "Why are we letting this guy go?" And I'm like, I have no idea. He's honest. He's smart. Everybody loves him. Yeah. Why not just offer him, hey, go back to bartending, right? Or go back, you want to, and having that human conversation with him and saying like, maybe it's not right now, but let's, and now he's still 10, 15 years now. Wow. He's with us. He's the head bartender at Winnie's. He's kind of led the whole rebirth of Winnie's Jazz Club. And it's like that right there is like, and listening to a guy like Rob and saying, man, we could have lost this guy. Yeah. And we didn't.
That's great. Well, that kind of comes down to having the structure, like the corporate structure, right? Because as you grow, you need to have more systems in place. I know you don't want to have rules, but you need standard operating procedures. But like, it is very easy, and you see it happen in other companies. Like as you grow, like those type of opportunities or situations don't happen. Like it's great that Rob came in the room and you had that conversation. Like how do you keep that small business hospitality mentality in the leadership of the company as you grow? Is it just like a regular meeting where you just kind of BS and talk through different things? Because sometimes you can just get like over systemized where you lose the human element. There's guys who are implementers and they will SOP all day. Yeah. And you need that. Yeah. But with us, and I think this is again, one of our successes is we're going to take a look at this person as an individual. All right. And from the executive team level, they are the people that work for us, the managers, the employees, we work for them. Yeah. And that's really important for people. They don't work for you. Mr. Director of Operations or our beverage director, who are all great. The bartenders don't work for you. You work for the bartenders. You work for your GMs. And so when you flip it like that and saying, am I providing the best services for them? Am I providing the most support for them? Where are they struggling? What else can I need? Because you could give them an SOP all day, a full book. Yep. And it's like, what's that going to do? Just check boxes. So it's important that we do reviews and make sure that our team knows that they can request a review. And when they do their own self reflection on their reviews, we're holding them accountable, and then hopefully that's holding us accountable. Talk a little bit about the review process, the self review. So like, what happens? Is it 6 months in? Is it a one-on-one conversation? Is it paperwork they're filling out?
So they're filling about 4 or 5 pages of paperwork, and it's just questions that make them think about their thinking. Okay. And so we always start off with kind of a positive focus, like, hey, in the last 6 months, name 2 or 3 things that you're most proud of, right? And so if you take those things that you're most proud of, and then you ask the next question, what would you implement in the next 6 months? So it gets you in the frame of mind of gratitude. Basically, I'm grateful for. So my focus is actually what I'm grateful on, and I'm not really focusing on the negative, because in this business where it's so easy to go negative, it's so easy. Man, the customers are, government, Department of Health was here, right? Like. Well, our job is to keep it on like, hey, the horizon is there. We're all walking together as a team, and what goals and what things can we do to help you get there? And then the last thing we're doing is a daily activity inventory, we call it. And they're writing down everything they do from either a daily or a weekly. And we're figuring out, hey, what do you like doing? And what do you hate doing? What do you don't like doing? Right? And whatever you don't like doing, you're not really working in your.
And this all employees do these?
No, so it's managers, new managers, and then once a year Sometimes people request it if they want a review, but it's mostly it's once a year for GMs, and then it's once they're basically 6 months in for new managers. Wow. And then, but what we do on frontline employees is we do a thing called face to face. So like we have a face to face where it's not a write up, but it's a come to Jesus, right? Yeah. It's coming to the table and saying, hey, these are the challenges that we're having. What are your challenges? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, show up late every day. Well, it's the bus. Okay, then let's schedule you 15 minutes later. Yeah. Right. Just coming to the understanding from and hearing them out and then putting together that path forward. And yeah, it's a lot of work and it's a lot. And I'm sure some things have fell through the cracks or there's one manager probably didn't get reviewed. Yeah. Well, if we can get as much as we can done and focusing again, like our management team, we're working for them. Yeah. That's how we look at it. So like what are the best services we're giving our teams?
Yeah. I imagine when you're treating them in such a way, it kind of trickles down and then they know what's expected, how they should be treating all, line level staff and everything and people on the team. I feel like you're into development and all of this stuff. So like, what have you learned just self-development wise as a leader? I mean, I'm sure there's so many things, but are there a couple that you look at and you're like, when you go to work every day, you're like, okay, I want to focus on these personal traits because they make me more effective, more successful.
One rule is the rule of 10 that I've learned, that not everything needs a response. But if you play by the rule of 10, it's like, does this need a response in 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 months? Like if you put it in that kind of perspective of like taking the time, taking 10 seconds or 10 minutes to draft a response or, not everything needs to be responded. Yeah. So things like that. But me and Billy Brownbreast are in a similar coaching class. We take your strategic coach and we share a lot of those kind of like insights of like, what motivates us. And he's a development guy too.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, I sent him a text the other day of, you give success a future. And if you think about that from, a gratitude standpoint, like, wow, success, that's what we're aiming for. I'm thinking about success. I give success a future. And I was just, those little things of like, if you could teach yourselves those things and then practice those things, this business becomes a lot more gratifying. Yeah. And again, I think the most gratifying point of my life is like when I see a bartender who was waiting to become a fireman. Yeah. Right. Or that struggling actor who's been working with us 10 years is now producing or developing their own movie. And we're able to invest in it. Yeah. Right. Like
it's incredible.
And stuff like that. Yeah. And like, that's what psychs me up. Yeah. That's what keeps me when the guys from Adrian's. Yeah. Like, taking such a horrible, thing.
Tell that story because it's really a incredible story.
Chef Adrian is from Broad Channel, right? And I grew up in Broad Channel and we know our families our whole lives. She was probably about 10 years younger than me. And she was working in a restaurant downtown and I poached her. Yeah. I poached her. I'm like, Adrian, why are you not working with us? Like we have great executive chefs. You could learn a ton. And then eventually you're going to open up your own place. Yeah. And, that was 2015 or, 2014. And she became an executive chef with us. And she was talented. Yeah. She would, and the personality to match. Yeah. And unfortunately she passed away. And tragically. And the guys, her brother, Frank, and her cousins, Chris, and her sister, Jessica, who's involved with the Impact Foundation, they said, we're going to take this and we're going to open up a restaurant in her name, in her style, in her recipes. And basically, a lot of even just former IGC employees just kind of came together and opened up Adrian's in Broad Channel. And it's been extremely successful. And they're opening up another place. And like that to me, like, if all the other restaurants, like those are proud moments, right? And now Leo's on the board. Leo Chauvin. So, and it's great because like the outside perspective, right? You deal with a lot of Manhattan operators and a lot of Brooklyn operators in the downtown kind of areas and midtown area. But like a lot of the rules that city council or the state assembly, like the governors pass, they think it's Manhattan rules. And they're not realizing that there's small neighborhoods that make up most of New York City, Rockaway, Broad Channel, Marine Park being part of that, right? And so, you know, when they set the fines or they set, you know, these silly, crazy, sometimes arbitrary rules, and it's like they can't, you know, an operator has to go all the way into downtown to fix something or get something done. It's just, it's a challenge. But,
you know, obviously the hotels are a little unique, but Bungalow, Adrian's, you know, other places, what are some of the differences between running a restaurant there versus, you know, being in, you know, Midtown Manhattan or downtown?
So you're getting feedback right away from your neighborhood, right? If your corner isn't clear, they're going to tell you. If you need help, they're going to see it, right? Like, so just from a neighborhood perspective of having a business that has its lights on, which we learned from COVID, you shut our lights out, crime goes up, you know, things happen that shouldn't happen. So small businesses in outer neighborhoods and outer boroughs are integral, right? So what I would like to say to politicians that they don't know is that they'll walk into a restaurant at 5 or 6 o'clock and see that it's busy. They're not there the other 23 hours of the day, right? We're paying rent 23 hours of the day, 24 hours of the day. We're not, you know, we're paying utilities, we're paying insurance. And even that, right? Insurance skyrocketed. And it's for the outer boroughs where it's like, this isn't Manhattan, right? So it's just the death by 1,000 cuts. And you know my line to like politicians, right? It's like, they've never had to make a payroll. Most of them have never had to make a payroll. They've never had to make a payroll. And what people, I think a lot of people don't understand is that business owners, small business owners, restaurateurs, the entrepreneurs are the last ones to pay themselves. We pay ourselves last. And not only that, we're the first ones to actually collect the tax for free for the privilege. And we do this for the privilege of doing business in New York or New York State. We collect the tax and then we hold it and give it to the government for, you know, depending on the week or depending on the month. And I think a lot of, you know, we have to remind our bureaucrats and our politicians that again, we pay ourselves last and we are tax collectors. Without us,
what are some of the biggest regulatory challenges that you're facing? You know, like I feel like it's so difficult being such a customer facing business where, you know, first you have your staff, you need your team, you need to take care of. Then you have the customers, then there's the reviews, and then it's accepting the deliveries. And it's like all just like the natural pressures of running a restaurant. Then there's like the market pressures from rents to, you know, other things. It's like when I start talking about, I don't even know which direction to go in first. But what do you as an operator think are the biggest government imposed challenges on restaurants and bars right now?
Onboarding.
Okay.
Onboarding, right? Like the hospitality business hires first-time employees, right? Usually kids out of high school, kids out of college, it's their first job. Right. So we're teaching them life lessons. We're teaching them on the job as they're learning and because it's such a social atmosphere, they're learning these life skills. Right. Then we're also a gig economy, right? Part-time students or part-time actors. So on the onboarding process, right, he has to go into a portal and he's got to click, all of these documentations that he has. Potentially, they have no idea what even they're signing. Payment verifications, I-9 forms, that. And yes, some of those things are extremely important. Absolutely. And we have them. For any of you lawyers looking at us, we got them. So, but what is it set up for? Right? Is it set up for the restaurateur to get into litigation because they were pushed, this was pushed by, you know, some other reason? I mean, literally this thick. Of just paying, you know, and the kid just wants to be hired and we want to pay him. Right? Everything else it just seems like it's on top. It's just overdone. It's overburdened.
Yeah.
Now I get it. I do. I get the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they had to realize, just putting themselves in our shoes of just the hiring portals and then maintaining that and keeping that for 7 years and all of that, it's extremely challenging for the HR teams and for owners.
Mm-hmm.
And we become victims of this kind of legal circular kind of thing, right? Like, I got to be honest with you. No entrepreneur opens up a business looking to take advantage of their employees. Yeah. Not many. Yeah. 99.9% of them are there because they want to make the world a little bit better for their
Listen, this is one of the biggest things, we always talk about. First off, it's like the litigation, right? Mm-hmm. When you run a small business, you are constantly could potentially be sued and are sued for a million different things. And the cost of litigation is so much that you're basically forced to settle. And a lot of times, like, it's described like it's basically extortion. It's like, we could, fight this, but it's going to cost you, $3 million. But if you settle right now for, I'm just making this up, $500,000, you move on from it.
ADA lawsuits.
ADA
lawsuits for websites.
Yep.
Right. There's one or two guys that do it. Right. Their names, they've been written about, and they're just going around. They sue as many businesses as possible, and they just settle, and nothing gets done about it. No tort reform.
Well, that's the big thing, is that, like, what we've been saying on all of these is, like, listen, there are certainly horrible violations that, government needs to go after. But for the vast majority of them, where it is, a technical error, something that could easily be corrected, like, that should be what the government policy is. We have these rules and regulations in place, but if you accidentally violate them, you have an opportunity to cure them, make it right, so there's no harm.
Reasonable,
give me a chance to run my business, treat me in a respectful way. And the fact is, too, talking about, like, even you have a bunch of places, but it's still like a small business. You're not like $1 billion corporation with huge corporate infrastructures and huge, legal departments and all of this. And just the pace in which new laws are enacted, where they're changed, where these minor violations can result in major damages, it becomes like impossible to juggle.
Each one of these restaurants,
that's the frustration, right?
Yeah, each one of these restaurants, their leases, their own microeconomy, right? They're using vendors. They're using. They're serving the neighborhood. When one of those places close, there is an effect to that block, to that neighborhood, that sometimes people can see right away. But litigation is one of those things that is it's a challenge, right? And luckily we haven't had too much of it with our company, but I just know it's just more and more and more because the regulations are getting harder and harder and harder.
So you kind of touched on it, but like, if you were talking to, and you do, whether we've had conversations, we were down in Washington, D.C. advocating for, comprehensive immigration reform, giving people, work permits so they can work legally, and business owners can hire folks to meet their, business operation demands. Like, what do you want? Is there, like, obviously you can get into like the specific policies, but is there like an overarching message to policymakers from a local business owner that you would share?
What's the old term? Like, everybody hates Congress except their own congressman. Right?
Oh yeah. So or everyone hates a lawyer until they need one.
Yes, that was eye-opening, right? We went down the American Business Coalition.
ABIC, American Business Immigration Coalition. We were walking the halls of Congress.
So just for the listeners, right? It was Republicans, Democrats, doesn't across the spectrum, business owners from small business to larger businesses, hitting Capitol Hill and hitting Congress to advocate for workforce authorization, and not amnesty, not getting into the particulars of all that, just workforce authorization, because healthcare, farming, hospitality, and many even the red states they don't have enough staff. They don't have enough employees. And from my perspective, just Congress itself, it's an easy win. I think it was like 85% of Americans agree with this, red or blue. 85% of Americans agree.
Mm-hmm.
They also, 83% of Americans agree that the border is secure or should be secured, right? So it's an easy win for Congress to come together and say, all right, let's kind of figure this, let's figure this out. And what was like eye-opening was how dug in, the Democrats were and how dug in the Republicans were. And we're sitting there with business owners from Kansas and farmers from Pennsylvania. And we're New York City guys. And we're like, what was I? Was I the Hammer?
You were the Hammer. That was your nickname. We went in thank you for meeting with us. This is the issue. Here's the data. Here's a problem. And then T comes in the Hammer. Like,
I was like one of the guys I was going to throw out the window hold him out. But it was just like, and it was like there was no talking.
Well, I think, those are all great insights. I think one of the things that I walked away from that experience was sitting at a table and being with, like, over a couple of days, like the guy from Kansas and Nebraska and Pennsylvania and then, San Francisco and, New York. And you have people of all political spectrums, you had people in the middle, you had really kind of like right-wing Republicans, Trump, MAGA people, you had very left-wing, progressive.
Purple hair.
Everything. And like, we all were together and I think we shared a really nice time. And like, there was so much common ground. And even when there was like differences, we kind of talked about it. I think people were interested, but we all agreed on this work authorization that like, these are people like you that have businesses that contribute so much to the local economy, the state economy, the country as a whole. And we need people to come here in an organized, efficient, legal way to work and meet the demands of our business that you can't just meet with, the local workforce, non-immigrant workforce. And for people who want to come here and make a better life for themselves and their families, like basically on a high level, when you watch TV and you see social media and you hear people talk about it, it's like there's this like great divide. But when you actually like sit at a table together, which is what's great about restaurants and bars, you can have these difficult conversations on different issues, but like there's a lot of agreement on a lot of stuff. And then sometimes it's just like the way people talk about things or phrasing, like you give them a little bit of grace, not because like, this or that. It's just because like people are products of their own experience. And I just thought there was so much that we can do together. And then when we actually had to kind of start talking to the actual policy makers, it was, like you were frustrated. I was frustrated. A lot of people were, but I was almost even more like disappointed. Like, they work hard to get these jobs, to represent people. And on like this particular issue, and there's countless more, they just like have lost the mojo to fight for it, or they're just so like jaded by this is just the way things are. It's this side, that side, and there's no nuance to actually do work for.
We got to get involved. We got to get people involved. We got to get more people involved. It's just like the fight during COVID of opening our businesses in New York.
Yeah.
Right, Andrew? What happened to my coffin that we were? Weren't we carrying a coffin through Midtown?
And, oh my goodness.
And then I went back and it was gone. The boys from Rockaway.
Yeah. So that's on that point, you've been an advocate for a long time. And I always think about this, especially with certain people in and I'm, obviously being on the board, you being on the board of the Hospitality Alliance and a lot of the work you mentioned, especially with the philanthropic, you are a trustee of our New York City Hospitality Alliance Impact Foundation, but you got a ton of places and you're super busy. So like, to your point, like what makes you or influences you to make the time to be an advocate, to go down to DC with me, to meet with city council members, to be on boards, to spend money on membership dues for groups like the Hospitality Alliance to try to make a difference? Because you could easily just kind of sit back and be like, you know what, there's so many challenges. Someone else is going to be the advocate out there, and just kind of throw your hands up. Like, what drives you to be part of the solution rather than just
we've been fighting. We grew up in Borough Channel, right? This little island, and Rockaway has, from our point of view, the last 50 years, the city had its back to us, right? And it was ingrained in all of us, all Tubridy children, that you fight, right? And you look for certain injustices, and and you get involved. And it was my father. It was my grandfather on my mother's side, my mother. We used to protest the MTA because there was a toll from Rockaway to Broad Channel. And we used to, as kids, we would hold signs and we would run protests, right? And so it's ingrained in my blood. My father, mayors used to come out to Pier 92 and meet with my father, Koch, Giuliani, Dinkins, Bloomberg, all of them, access and getting what's important, right? The message, and we're not going anywhere. That's what's important, right? I think during COVID is like, what's going to change? Like hospitality is going to change. And we sat back, we re-upped our leases. We doubled down on our leases at Park Avenue Tavern. We doubled down on our leases at Refinery. And we said, no, you know what's not going to change? People are not going to leave New York in the way that everybody thinks. They did for a little bit. People want menus in their hands. They don't want QR codes. People want to be served. They don't want a robot to do it, right? So all the things that we're going to change, we stuck to our guns and saying, all right, this is, we're going to push through it. So I think the same thing goes with politics and not being afraid to talk up, especially in the social media. Like everything is completely taken out of context. And when we met with Mr. Mondami and the mayor, and what I was surprised about is how open he was to listening to us, right? And I thought that was very positive. I just hope he listens further. As we go along. Like, you want to talk about the minimum wage. I know it's a touchy subject, but the $30 minimum wage for New York City operators and the manner in which they are proposing to do it, it's simple arithmetic. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get upset. It's math. Do the math. Right? And we'll realize that it's going to cost jobs. It's going to cost livelihoods. It's going to cost businesses. That's simple.
No, it's important. Like you said, I think it's like having that endurance and realizing that change doesn't happen overnight. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep advocating. You have to be smart. You have to be strategic, but you have to be there. You know, it's the, if you're you're not, if you're not on the, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu.
We couldn't get a seat at the table.
I know. And you just keep pushing and now you got to be eating at the table.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk away from the serious policy stuff, back to kind of the operational stuff. You're always working a lot. You got a beautiful family who you try to spend time with as well. But if you do go out to other restaurants and bars, like what are you looking at? Like, are there specific things that you look at? Are they doing well? Like bits of wisdom or ideas you bring back to your places?
Yeah, I love going out, obviously, right? I like going and being consistent and being a regular. Right? Right before here, I went to Smilowinski's to say hello to Roger and the guys, Seamus and the guys over there. And so what am I looking for? Well, my wife hates probably going out to dinner with me because I have to put myself facing the wall. And if we're ordering with other people, even my friends know this the ordering part, it's get your orders together. Let's not embarrass ourselves. What are we ordering? You want just me to handle this?
I know that feeling. I know.
So I kind of handle all that. Most of the time they just look to me, obviously. But to the point of what are you looking for? Is it too hot? It's salt. We call it salt, right? Sound, ambiance, lighting, temperature. So I'm not going to go back to a restaurant if it's too hot. Right. I'm not going to go back to a restaurant if there's no, nothing kind of special. They don't say hello. They don't say goodbye. Simple, very simple things like that, which we try to ingrain in our own restaurants. And sometimes it's hard to nail, right? It's hard to nail that every single time.
What about just the overarching kind of state of the industry right now? That's the other thing too, is that you mentioned a couple really popular places that people can't get reservations, but there's more than 24,000, 25,000 restaurants and bars across the 5 boroughs. There's so many different neighborhoods, types of cuisines. So there's an enormous spectrum when you say, what's the state of the industry? How are people doing? But from your vantage point, what is the state of the city's restaurant and nightlife industry? Opportunities, challenges, changes?
Challenges always start with what community are you in, and what value are you giving that community, and start from there as far as added value outside of the community. The state of the industry, it's a tough answer because of how, again, the state of the world.
Yeah.
Right. When a case of limes doubles or triples in price from 1 week to the next, or, the price of beef going through the roof, like things like that. What do we do as operators? Do we raise the price and just price out everybody, or do we try to, again, play the long game, tighten up everything else that we can, right? Look at where the other, potentially margins are for us. Turn off the air condition if we have to overnight. I mean, the little things of like that. Yeah. I'm no expert on telling you what the state of the industry is. I don't think anybody is. Yeah. I think I know what's going on in my block. Right. I know what's going on in my block of businesses. But when if you told me like, I own the nightclub in Lower East Side, I knew every place. If I went down there now, be like, yo, where should we go tonight? I'm like, I have no idea, man. I'm in bed. It's 10 p.m. Things like that. So, but no, I guess best advice, know what's going on in your block. Yeah. Number one.
You just triggered a thought for me when you were saying just like, the limes and then turning off, case of limes and then beef spikes and then, turning off the air conditioning at night. When all those fluctuations happen that increase the cost of doing business, you as an owner operator need to figure out what to do. You can't reduce employees' wages for the most part. You can't pay less in insurance. You can't pay less rent. You probably try in certain places to save on food costs, but like if you're known for quality, you can't just start, buying really poor quality products. So you have to find the money somehow, and you're the last person to be paid. Yeah. And I think that's the burden that so many business owners, struggle with and try to find ways to manage. But I also think it's like that grit and that ingenuity and that like you being a kid at the bridge, like, don't no to the tolls, that, kind of powers through the difficult things, because the product, both what's being served, but as well what's being provided, the hospitality, brings a lot of, just meaning to the work.
Everything's on the margins as far as like I go, Andrew. You could cut a server back 15 minutes or a half hour, but what's that going to do to the service that happens towards the end of the night, right? Or a bartender. Can you go a week without limes and say, have lemons instead? Yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't live in the tropics, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, it's, you have to, when the good times are good, you got to put away your money. Yeah. You got to save your money. Yeah. Right. And so like making sure you're financially stable enough to ride out the storms, that's key. And that's actually kind of worked out for us.
Yeah. Last thing, so I mentioned that you were a trustee of the New York City Hospitality Alliance Impact Foundation, which is our 501c3 charitable organization. We've been focusing a lot on, scholarships for public school students that want to go to, culinary schools and higher education. We've been doing a lot of food relief. And, as a trustee and just someone who's involved with a lot of philanthropy, I wanted to ask you to tie back to Chef Adrian, because one of the things that we have done is with the family and with IGC, and obviously you personally, is establish a scholarship in Chef Adrian's name. Yeah. So can you just talk a little bit about, maybe that scholarship, but also you having the opportunity to, give back and what that has meant for you personally, but then also just as a company, like there's a culture of giving and doing good outside of just, trying to make a profit if you can in this business and doing your day to day.
We hate kind of promoting that stuff, right? So it's like,
that's why I have to ask you about it. Yeah. I've heard there were some, was it Mantle or Sinatra? There was someone that like got criticized years ago for, never doing any good work, not donating money, not doing all this stuff. And then after they passed away, they like found all this information about like all the wonderful philanthropic work they did and just never told anyone, never talked about it. Yeah. So, I'm kind of just putting you on the spot.
Thanks.
Because it's important and you should be recognized,
Chef Adrian, we talked about, Jessica and Frank and the family wanted to set up this culinary foundation, right? And they wanted to give scholarships to underserved, members, whether it's high school, whether it's college, to pursue the culinary arts. And not, as you know, not many. It's a tough road for chefs, right? Like, and it's costly, and you have to really, really love it. So, I've been involved in helping them kind of strategize and kind of develop where money should go, how best practices. And then Jeff Bank from Carmine's is going to host with the Gutierrez. Jessica is going to be there giving out the scholarships. And why is that important? I mean, because somebody helped me.
Yeah. Somebody
gave me a job. Somebody helped my family. So like, what are we doing here, right? Yeah. Like we have the tools and we have the ability to do it, then we should do it.
Yeah.
If we don't, we find other ways to do it. Yeah. Whether that's through money, whether that's through wisdom, or whether that's through just feeding people. Right? The Impact Foundation with Thanksgiving, right? How many with NYCHA, right? How many people did we serve?
Yeah.
And that's real dollars to that, because it takes time to coordinate all that, and it takes time and working with other partners to do that. Like I want to say it is honorable work. And so that's why we do it, and we can. Yeah. It's like we can do it. Yeah. Not that we need to, but we can. And that's awesome.
I think that's it's part of that hospitality gene.
Yeah.
Terence Tubridy, IGC Hospitality, my friend, Hospitality Alliance board member, Impact Foundation trustee, a man who does so much for so many. Thanks for coming on Hospitality Politics.